Hey everyone, welcome to Trust AI Partners. I'm Jim Hoover, and this is where we cut through the noise and talk about how AI and smart tech are actually changing the game for real businesses. Today we're diving into the health and wellness coaching world. If you're a coach juggling client check-ins, meal plans, workout programs, progress tracking, payments, and actually trying to grow your business, you know the manual workflow is insane. You got into coaching to transform lives, not spend half your day on admin or spreadsheets. If you're hitting a ceiling because you literally can't take on one more client without cloning yourself, this is for you. We're talking about automation and systems that could change how you scale without burning out. My guest has built a thriving business and coaching business and knows what's actually working. Stick around, this one's packed with good stuff. My guest today is Andrew Panella, a health and wellness coach who's been transforming business professionals and overwhelmed parents for over a decade. After losing 50 pounds and bouncing back from multiple surgeries, he's lived what he teaches with a background in economics, personal training, and nutrition coaching. He brings both data and real-world experience to help people reclaim their health without the gym rat lifestyle. Andrew, welcome to the show. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of making health coaching businesses more efficient, tell the folks who you are and give us the story.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I'm happy to be here. Just a little bit on my background. So as Jim said, I came from the world of corporate social impact. I was in the education space. I worked in the media space for a while. And during the last 10 years or so, it started with a bunch of sports related injuries and inflammation. And even when I was a kid, I really had chronic inflammation. I had a bunch of sinus surgeries, got my adenoids removed. And so finally reached a point after like 5 or 6 surgeries in the span of a couple of years that I just started to learn about health and wasn't getting any of the answers that I was looking for in the healthcare system. And so took it upon myself to try and figure out what was going on. And ultimately, I'm super grateful. I've been able to figure out a lot of my own issues. Still a work in progress as anybody is, but now taking a lot of that knowledge and helping other people do exactly the same with chronic diseases, helping people with their blood pressure or getting their cholesterol profiles in normal ranges, helping with inflammation, joint pain. You name it. I have clients that are running into a whole variety of complicated issues and not getting the answers that they're looking for in the healthcare system. And so that's where I come in and help them build personalized systems for their lifestyle that help them unlock the outcomes they're looking for. So it's been a journey of my own, but I'm really grateful to be here and be able to spend my time doing what I love, helping people.
So I'm curious, Andrew, in the beginning, were you inspired by a specific template or basically writing all these systems from scratch?
I think it was, so there's a concept that I have really come to embrace, which is, I guess otherwise it's called like integrative thinking or integrative reasoning. And I bring it up because early on, I actually was fortunate that after I got my second hip surgery, I was stuck in bed and I was staying with a friend that had absolutely nothing in his spare bedroom. And so it was either like sit on my phone and scroll all day, which was making me super depressed, or pick up some books. And so I chose to just start reading health books. And after the first 5 to 10, I noticed there was a lot of common themes, but then there was also a lot of things that were conflicting and contradictory in some ways. And so I started to just pull things that I found were either common themes or like really trying to leverage first principles to figure out like, okay, what is the underlying assumption that this recommendation is based on and go from there. And so it's allowed me to really build up this frame of reference or perspective on health that I think has served me well and has served people I work with really well, just knowing like everybody's different. And so whether it's nutrition or movement or stress management or sleep, everybody's approach to it's a little bit unique and different as far as what works for them. And so, it's the integrative thinking has been absolutely instrumental for me to recognize that there is no one universal truth. There's always partial truths. And so taking the best from multiple perspectives and using them to build a brand new perspective is something that I really hold sort of as a high approach to getting healthier.
And so is there a unpopular opinion or contrarian sort of viewpoint that has served you well over the past couple of years and gotten you to where the business is at today?
I think there's no one size fits all as far as healthy lifestyle goes. And that viewpoint, you hear people say that you should be counting calories, or you hear people say that this is the best diet. And, everybody thinks they have their own version of a best diet. And thinking that there is one best diet is to ignore the fact that our ancestors evolved all over the world eating completely different diets. So there is no universal diet. And I think that sometimes catches people off guard when I'm not like, listen, I don't have a specific diet I'm going to prescribe to you, other than the fact that I'm going to tell you eating real, whole, unprocessed foods is going to be a good starting point. So I don't know if it's necessarily controversial, but it's definitely something that raises eyebrows sometimes when I talk to people and they're like, oh, I haven't thought about it that way.
And so give us the lay of the land. How big's the coaching practice now?
I fluctuate anywhere from, I would say, 20 to 40 clients. So I work one-on-one with clients. I am working on potentially rolling out a group coaching offer so that I can help more people. But right now it fluctuates between 20 to 40 clients one-on-one at any given time. And I work with clients anywhere from, 3 or 4 months on the low end to I have some clients where we've been working together for almost 2 years. And so, by no means am I approaching a Fortune 500 company, but that's never really been my goal. My goal is to impact people's lives. And it's part of the reason I just wrote a book so that I could help more people and just have a greater impact, because obviously you can only coach so many people. There's only so many hours in the day and week. Business has been going really well. I think a lot of people are very frustrated with the answers they're getting from the healthcare system. And so looking to alternative medicine or coaches like myself that really look at natural remedies, like how do you add in the herbs and spices that are going to help you with your blood pressure instead of being on a medication for the rest of your life. So I think there's a lot of coaches out there that are starting to approach this through more of a natural, alternative, holistic lens. And that's what people are looking for. People are looking for sustainable results that address the root causes of their issues, not the palliative care and the long-term medicines.
And where are you currently based, and is it all virtual? Do you have some percentage of in-person? How does that break down?
It's all virtual right now. I would like to in the future be doing more in person, just because I like being around people, and obviously coaching people in person is enjoyable. But I will say that doing it online allows for a little bit more scale. Like I can jump on with a client in California and then immediately jump off and be on with a client in Massachusetts. So I'm from Massachusetts. I went to school in Maine. I've lived in Virginia for about 10 years, and now I'm in Connecticut. So my wife and I compromised to be close to family because she's from New York.
Got it. So talk to me about the tech setup. What tools, systems are running the show behind the scenes?
Yeah. So you said something in your introduction that really resonated with, just like, you don't want to be at a point where your tech stack is holding you back from taking on more clients, or like you're running out of time in the day. So, I hear a lot of people talking about how AI is like going to take over, and without a doubt, like and robotics are going to be infiltrating all different corners of our lives. Right. But I think that the desire for human connection is never going to go away. In fact, I think it's probably going to get even stronger. And you see that with people moving to remote work, where even if you're on calls like this all day, a lot of people at the end of the day are sort of craving real human interaction. I was like, I want to go hug somebody. I want to go like sit down and like talk with somebody and be laughing. And so I don't know if AI is ever really going to replace that desire or that, fill that gap that people want with human connection. And so for me, I always look at it through the lens of how can I offboard everything that doesn't involve human interaction so that I can be better at my job and more present when I am engaging with people in conversations like this. And so things like automating interactions behind the scenes, so email campaigns, things like making sure that if somebody signs up for a resource that I have tons of free resources, that they're getting the right resource, that they're being followed up with appropriately. Onboarding, obviously making sure people get sent the right documentation, that they're getting reminders to go in and fill out their information. And so I'm very much in the process of building out systems in my own business that give me back more time in my day. And so I'm always learning about different tools, but I mean, a lot of workflows and AI based sort of analysis of what's happening in the business, whether it's like financial implications or client workflows to make sure they're getting the right things at the right times. Anything where I don't necessarily have to be there and the client's not losing any value by me. In fact, they're gaining value because it's, a lot of times more timely. I'm always looking to utilize and leverage technology for that.
And so can you take us through the typical workflow with where you're, which sort of mixed media are you using? Where are the bulk of the clients coming in? What's on the landing page and so on and so forth?
Yeah. So most of my clients I connect with through social media. I post almost every day on all different socials, and I'm always just talking about really simple habits or frameworks or natural remedies that people can use to improve their metabolic health, their hormones, reduce inflammation, help with joint pain. I mean, you name it, anything that relates to health and longevity. I'm always trying to promote free information for people. And so I frequently connect with individuals that see me on social media. They go to my website, they book a call, and we just have a casual conversation like this to try and figure out like, what's holding you back? Where are you trying to go? Right. And I'm very upfront. If I feel like I can help them, I let them know. I sort of explain how that works. If I can't, I try to point them in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And so most of this is done via Zoom or Google Meet like this, just hopping on a video. And so people can go to my website, they can book a call. I use Calendly, so it's linked up to my calendar. And then when they do book a call, there's some stuff that gets sent out to them that I've prepared that just gives them a little bit more context about my backstory, other clients I've helped, my approach to coaching and helping clients. So yeah, that's where I connect with most people and kind of what they can expect off the bat.
Which social media platform are you drawing the most clients?
A combination of Twitter and LinkedIn.
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
And have you experimented or actively pursuing any direct ad campaigns?
I have run some ads on LinkedIn, and I actually just ran out of bandwidth. Like I when you run ads, obviously, if somebody raises their hand and they're interested, you want to be able to follow up with them in a timely way and set up a call and have a conversation with them. And I found that I just wasn't able to, as a, basically a one-person show, follow up with folks in as timely enough a manner. So I have run ads in the past, and I've experimented with meta ads as well. But the calls that I get from folks that follow me on social media or connect with me on social media have been enough for the business to continue growing. So I will definitely revisit that because it's a great way to connect with people, even though, advertising and marketing and sales gets a bad rep sometimes. It's like, listen, if you present something that has a need that people want to solve a problem, then you're doing somebody a favor.
And in terms of being able to manage the inquiries to those ad campaigns, have you experimented with any AI SDRs to able to help automate the responses and the conversations and qualify who are the right people you should be talking to?
I have not. I have had multiple people tell me that I should have like an automated or like an AI sales rep, basically, that reaches out to people just to qualify them and set up a call with them. But I have not experimented with that. Again, as the first touch interaction, if somebody submits their information for an ad that I put out on LinkedIn or Meta, maybe this is my own personal bias, right? But like, if I'm that person, I would love to get a phone call from somebody who's a real person, who's, hey, I'm following up on the information you submitted. Let's set up a conversation. So I think that's probably just my own personal bias of wanting to keep the human interaction in that conversation right from the get-go. But I probably would be doing a better job following up with people if I had at least the first touch point just as a, AI sales rep to just say, hey, if you want to have a conversation with Andrew, let's set up some time later this week.
Yeah, and there might also be some assumptions there that the person that you're corresponding with actually knows whether it is or is not a human.
Yeah, so I have a friend who I think he just left the corporate space he's working on doing something very similar to what you guys are working on. And that's what he was saying to me. He sent me a audio message of me talking about like a dog or I don't know, something very random. And it wasn't me, but he was like, yeah, I just uploaded a couple of your YouTube videos and this thing could just speak like me. It was kind of scary.
Yeah, it is spooky. And so how about in terms of client management, CRM, do you have anything in place there?
I have a CRM. I use Close.io. I like the fact that it has emails and text messages and like workflows built right into it. So I use Close as a CRM. I use a lot of Google Sheets. Like Google Suite is sort of built into my business.
Mm-hmm.
But between Google Sheets, Close, Calendly, Discord is where I do a lot of the one-on-one coaching. Zapier has enabled a ton of connectivity between all those things just to make sure data is flowing smoothly and onboarding is smooth. But yeah, Close is the CRM I use.
I'm curious, what is it about LinkedIn that has been more effective or the preferred option for you compared to some of the other big names that are out there, TikTok, Meta, Instagram?
For running ads?
For your outreach, yes.
Coming from the corporate space, like having just worked in the technology space, I used LinkedIn all the time and connected with tons of people on LinkedIn. And so on one hand, I think it came really naturally to me. Like I know how to use the platform. So there's that familiarity. On the other hand, I think a lot of folks I work with are very similar to the spot that I was in 5-10 years ago when I had my own sort of chronic issues. Now, a lot of my clients might be a little bit older than me, but they're still in this technology space or they're, working a white collar job. They're using LinkedIn a lot as a professional networking tool. And so I find that connecting with people on there and the fact that LinkedIn has a built-in messaging tool. I mean, if I connect with somebody on LinkedIn, I can have a conversation with them in a pretty casual way of like, hey, what are you working on? What have you tried? If they're interested, we can hop on a call, and Calendly integrates with LinkedIn. So it's very easy to set that up. So I think it's just been familiarity and the fact that a lot of people that I work with use LinkedIn regularly.
And walk me through the process of how you qualify or disqualify a client that would be a good fit in working with you.
Yeah, well, it's really a discovery process. It's, asking them a couple of questions up front, like have they worked with a coach before? What are they dealing with? Is it like a gut health issue? Is it joint inflammation? Are they taking a medication for something that has to do with their cardiovascular health? Like, are they on a statin? Are they on blood pressure lowering medications? Are they on a blood thinner? So trying to identify like what's the main thing that you're trying to solve for? What's your main roadblock? What have you tried in the past? So just some early data collection so that I come to these conversations feeling prepared and at least somewhat in tune with what they're going through. And then it's just talking to them and, again, having a conversation just like this to get a sense for like what they've tried, what recommendations they've gotten from their primary care or other coaches they may have worked with. Again, I am very much, I default towards like the natural remedies versus the medications. And I think that's a fairly different approach than the healthcare system because there's no profit in recommending like beet juice for somebody to lower their blood pressure. So it's really just a conversation is that, obviously I want to make sure before we get on the call that this is somebody that takes their health seriously. They're really like in a spot where they're at least trying to learn. Whether or not they want to work together, that's a conversation. But if they're at least trying to learn and solve this problem, they're not just looking for like a magic pill. That's something I try to be really upfront about. If you're looking for a magic pill or a quick fix, like I'm not the right coach. But then when we get on calls, it's conversation to figure out where they're trying to go, what they've tried, and whether or not my approach to coaching is the right fit for them.
And what's the overview, and to whatever degree you're comfortable sharing in terms of the details concerned, are you charging by the meeting, by the hour, by the month? What does that look like?
I charge by the program, right? So at a minimum, I'll work with clients for 3 to 4 months on the short end. And part of that's because if somebody only wants to work together for 30 days, unless they don't really have much that they're dealing with, which is very few and far between, usually that's somebody looking for a quick fix, right? Like 30 days is not necessarily enough time it's definitely not enough time if somebody's looking to lose 20, 30, 50, 100 pounds, which is some of my clients, get off a couple of their medications. It's just not enough time. And so in order for me to be able to go as in depth as I find is essential for somebody to leave the program feeling like they understand their health at a higher degree than they ever did before. And that empowers them to like make and keep the changes that they've achieved. It has to be a longer program. And I want them to feel invested, right? I want it to be a partnership. It's not just, hey, do these 3 things and like, I'll talk with you in 30 days. It's much more hands-on than that. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense because 30 days is hardly enough time to change a habit, let alone change a lifestyle. Right?
Yeah. 90 days is minimum. And even there, we're barely scratching the surface, right? I think most of my clients, the clients that I see getting the most value out of coaching are doing at least 6 or 8 months. Just because there's so much content that we can cover, right? Like I go through nutrition, exercise, stress management, sleep, behavioral psychology, mindset, environment, like social life, you name it. There's just not enough. And if I were to come to the first couple of calls and give somebody all of that, they'd be like, I am so overwhelmed. So we start with foundational principles, 2 or 3 things at a time. And so over the course of 6, 8, 12 months, we can cover all of that, but we can't do that in even 90 days. There's not enough time to cover all of that without them feeling completely overwhelmed.
Yeah. And so I'm curious, there's a lot of, obviously there are a lot of diet programs and other training programs that are out there that are leveraging software, apps, websites to use as tools in addition to the one-on-one coaching and feedback. And so is there any part of that that fits into your program or something you're thinking about for the future?
Jim, that is such a good question. It's something that I'm thinking about all the time. Every one of my clients is a little bit different. And so I have found that my tech stack, as far as client facing, has expanded and contracted multiple times. Listen, if I'm trying to help somebody get healthier, I want them to have a system that is going to be as simple and easy to follow as possible. And so for many clients, checking off different habits or like using a new app, it becomes a burden. And that's the last thing that I want. And so most of what I do with clients is like we have a one-on-one channel and we have a Google Sheet document where we're tracking a bunch of things. Like I have a ton of templates that I already upload. And so I basically have a client template in there. There's reference guides, there's resources that they can use. And as we go through the program, we might open up new tabs for different elements that we're working on. But I have experimented with a couple of different apps and most of the feedback I get is like, it's a new app. And as cool as that might seem as a coach, right? I got to like set aside my own bias there. As a client, they just want this. They want this to be simple. They want this to be something they can remember, easy to track. Most people like opening a Google Sheet and bookmarking that is like the easiest thing. And it's something they can keep with them. And it's not a new app they need to download. So my tech stack from the client facing side is pretty low touch because that's what clients prefer. That's what they've been telling me.
And so what is absorbing the most amount of your time in your day to day?
Calls, which is a good thing, right? Like I love being on calls with clients. I love being on calls with potential clients. At the end of the day, like I just love talking about health and trying to solve problems. And so those two things are like, it's amazing. I pinch myself that I get to do this for a job. Other than that, it's a lot of back end. Like I might be creating content. I might be writing emails. I might be following up with people. I might be building out the back end of my tech stack. Like right now, I've been working on with the book launch I just did. I've been working on a bunch of the tools that are bonuses that come with the book. So making sure that if somebody downloads the book and they go to the website and they put in their information, they're getting the right bonuses, they have the right instructions. So a lot of like workflow building out, like we were chatting about, making sure like the Zapier workflows are all set up correctly. The right person's getting the right email with the right links at the right times. So there's always admin stuff that I'm working on as far as like the back end systems and technology.
And so what would you point to as far as one bottleneck that keeps you from taking on more clients?
Good question. Probably just like fluctuations in algorithms, right? Like Twitter, their algorithm can change and all of a sudden my content is getting shown to 90% less people. And so naturally, I'm going to have less people that are raising their hand saying, I want to have a conversation and learn more about this. So that's probably the biggest thing. And it's obviously outside my control. And so for me, it's constantly weighing the balance of how do I continue to get myself out there and continue promoting free content that's going to help people get healthier? And how am I going to build systems on the back end that protect me when those things inevitably go away? Like, who knows? TikTok could get shut down in the United States. I forget. That conversation has gone back and forth so many times now. I don't know where it's at, but like that could get shut down in the United States. And then there's one less platform to connect with people on. So I'm always wary of that like relying too much on the social media algorithms is makes your business a little bit more fragile or your ability to connect with people. So, yeah.
And so most founders at some point or another find themselves dealing with a situation where they have to make a decision. Are they going to continue to be the front man in their day-to-day operations, or are they going to figure out a way to spend more of their time operationally and growing the business? And so I wanted to hear from you. Where do you see this going 6 to 12 months from now or beyond? Do you see a scenario where you're going to need to put people in place and build a team? Or are you happier just continuing to do what you're doing?
Yeah, so I have thought about this a lot because in an ideal world, I would like to spend my time coaching, so talking with current clients, talking with prospective clients, researching and creating content. Those are the four things that I find the most enjoyment. Like I love connecting with people and I love reading because that is what set me free initially. And I love taking what I just read and trying to synthesize it and put it out into the social media ether to help other people. So that's where I would like to be spending my time. And so inherently, the back end operations and admin will eventually be offboarded to somebody else because I don't want to be spending my time on that. So yeah. I do see myself building out a team. I have a couple guys that I work with now that help me with just platform management because I don't want to spend my life on social media either. Even though I like creating the content, I don't want to be on social media all day. So I have some guys that help me with that aspect of it. And they're really good at what they do. but I will probably also bring on somebody to help with like the operations and admin. Again, more of like the workflows and where I can embed artificial intelligence to make me better at my job. So, but we'll see. That's like you said, that's probably 6 to 12 months or more off.
Mm-hmm. And before I move on to the next subject, what would you describe for the biggest opportunity to automate those workflows in which function or activity? What would be number 1, 2, and 3?
I think database cleanliness, like setting up Airtable and having the closed CRM and everything just very tightly organized. So database management and cleanliness is probably number 1. And then on top of that, because that's sort of layer number 2, is just like information workflows. So if I spoke to somebody and they told me to follow up with them 6 months later, making sure that I am on top of that, right? But like if I have 20 conversations with potential new clients a week, if somebody asked me to follow up with them 6 months later, and there's 3 people a week asking me to follow up with them at different points in time, it's just making sure like I can stay on top of that. So information workflows, making sure the right people get the right messages and connections at the right times. And then the last is just content automation, probably. Like just making sure that when I'm creating content, because I create a lot of my own content, most of it, and making sure that that gets posted on the right platform at the right time, that I have my sort of social media team managing that. Those are probably the top 3.
And while we're talking about it, in terms of that content development, what tools are you leveraging to help with that?
So let's see. Loom is huge. The screen recording tool. I love Loom because I can just like pull up an infographic and record myself talking over it. CapCut for a while for me was really helpful for like video editing. And I still use it if I'm like uploading client testimonials and I just want to like clean up dead space. Buffer as a platform for scheduling across multiple social medias. Zapier is always helpful. There's like almost always something you can do with Zapier. I've just started using Notion. I was using Evernote and I was using Google Drive, like Google Sheets and Google Docs. But I love the fact that Notion allows me to like, there's project management aspects built into it. So if I have 5 YouTube videos that I'm drafting up, then I can like easily segment where they're at in that process. So Notion is definitely something I'm starting to use more and more of. That's pretty much it from a content marketing standpoint.
What KPIs are you paying the most attention to on a week-to-week basis?
Total impressions, calls booked, new clients brought in, revenue, obviously. Like, how does that translate to revenue? But I'm looking at where traffic is coming from each platform. And then getting a little bit more granular sometimes to look at the types of content. So if I have like 5 different buckets of my like content pillars that I post about, which one of those does each piece of content fall within? And then how does it compare for each of those other metrics? Like which pieces of content resonate with my audience the most? Which ones translate to the most people getting on a conversation, joining the program as a client? So it's a lot of what you'd probably expect and what your listeners would probably expect as far as just looking at like from a top to bottom of the funnel.
Yeah, it's different marketing strategies are often a matter of testing and seeing what's getting traction and what doesn't. If you had to look at both extremes of all the types of content that you've put out there so far, what's been the most effective and what's been the least effective?
As far as, can you be more
just in terms of engagement. from an audience.
But do you mean like which medium, which tool, which like content pillar?
The type of content. Are we talking about like PDFs that you're putting out there as a lead magnet, or along those lines?
Good question. I think short form video
Uh-huh.
has been really, I mean, people love to see and hear the person that they're learning from. Like you can go to LinkedIn and Twitter, and frankly, a lot of the posts on there just seem like they're AI generated. Whether or not, I'm sure people like will generate them. Even I use AI to help with content ideation and organizing pieces of content and threads and stuff like that. But I always go through and actually like put the finishing touches and make sure it is my voice. But some content out there just seems like it is very almost copy and paste from an AI tool. And so I really find that a lot of people resonate with video because at least right now, there's not much as far as AI tools that can replicate a real person talking about something that resonates, a problem that somebody's going through or an interesting study or a superfood, whatever it might be. So I think video, at least for now, right? I'm sure the AI there'll be tools where you can sort of clone yourself, but I think the video is a great way to connect with people and put yourself out there and have people understand like who you are and what you promote, how you approach things, your perspective, and just get a chance to hear from you directly.
You had mentioned bandwidth earlier. I was wondering if there's going to be a certain point where you're going to run out of bandwidth in being able to take on more clients one-on-one. Are you anywhere close to that, or can you give us a sense of where you're at in that process?
Yeah, well, I've kind of identified that like 40 clients is probably the most that I can handle at any given time, because I want to be able to give clients 110%, right? Like if I ever get to a point where I have too many clients and I'm just not able to bring my full self, then the client's getting a disservice. And so for me, that is the number that I've identified as like the upper bound. And business fluctuates, right? Like when I get around that number, I just inherently do less on the content marketing and like I take less sales calls. Like I'm just a little bit more stringent with like the people I get on calls with, because number one, I don't have as much time. And number two, if I don't have slots open, then I have to like put people on a wait list. And that's really shitty for people that are like, hey, I really need help. I want to work with you. And so I think at some point, there's two options: bring on additional coaches or switch to more of a group coaching format where there's still the one-on-one. Everyone still has a private channel. I'm still engaged in like answering questions. But then throughout the week, maybe there's a call every day that I do where anybody can join and there's a specific topic that we're going to talk about, but then people can sort of direct based on what their, questions they have. So yeah, I think either one of those two things, I will probably transition to. I think I'll always have like one-on-one clients, strict one-on-one clients, but in order to open it up and have more impact and enable more clients to come into the program, I'll do a group coaching format or bring on an assistant coach or multiple to help.
And so paint a picture for me. If we're sitting here 12 months from now, what does the dream state for the business look like operationally? What automation could be in place, level of clients, any more detail you can paint a picture with?
So I'll start operationally. I would like to, at any given time, open a dashboard and see schedule for all the content for all the social media platforms. I would like never to have to go into the back end of my website again, or deal with all of the like ins and outs of the Zapier integrations and the CRM. I would like to spend my time connecting with clients, connecting with potential clients, researching, and at least creating like the ideation stage of content where like I will read books and I will bring my notepad with me, and then I will come back to my desk with 18 different like interesting topic ideas just from my 30 minutes of morning reading. Rather than spending all of my time crafting every one of those, it would be great to be able to say to my content team, hey, I'm putting these in the idea bucket. Let's pick out the next 5 best ones for this week or next week. And let's map out how we're going to create each of those in different content mediums for different platforms. So I can spend my time continuing to learn and continuing to teach. Like I love teaching. That's part of the reason I love getting on calls. But that's where I want to spend my time, right? And that's why, like, who knows, a year from now, if there's enough interest where I'm turning people away, that's where I would go to the group coaching model where I can still bring on clients and enable them to get the same amount of hand-holding, but I'm not as strapped on time because I can have multiple clients. I've also gotten feedback from clients too, where some of them are like, I love getting on these calls. It would be really helpful if there were other people also like bringing up what they're going through, suggesting other ideas that are working for them, especially when it comes to like systems and like lifestyle. When people are talking about like their family life, like how do they plan like meals and how do they navigate daycare and all this stuff that relates directly to how they make choices in, you know, their health. So I've had clients ask about that of like, I'd rather be on conversations with other people, or not saying that explicitly, just asking like, will there be an opportunity where you're going to get other clients on so we can, you know, sort of crowdsource ideas?
And so before we wrap up, why don't you, 2 parts to this. One is let the audience know a little bit of an overview about your book, why somebody might want to research it a little bit further, get more information on it. And then the second part of my question would be, what's one piece of advice you'd give someone in the health coaching space who's dealing with these challenges?
So my book is called The Longevity Lifestyle. You can find it on Amazon. It's on any one of my social media platforms. And I wrote it for really anybody that's trying to live a healthier, longer, and happier life. So it's sort of it's 28 different principles that I have found to be foundational elements of human health and performance and longevity. And I would say almost all of them, if not all of them, are really timeless. They're things that are not going to necessarily change. And the book itself is less prescriptive. It's not like, go do this. It's more about how to navigate information overload and navigate trade-offs. I mean, we're presented with so many choices and we're told on every social media platform every day, we need to be eating this food, taking this supplement. And so the book really is aiming to help somebody think through how to navigate those choices. And so if somebody's interested in checking that out and motivated enough to go through and read a book and, you know, go through, there's implementation sections, there's a ton of different infographics in there. There's lists of habits, there's protocols, frameworks. So I try to put like almost everything I knew about optimal health and human performance in this book. And then to answer your second question, if somebody's trying to coach other people, I find that there's a tendency to create templates and like, this is the go-to workout. This is the go-to, or like, you know, follow these rules. I think everybody is different. And so really being a good listener with clients, I found to be the most important thing. Trying to get a sense for like what people are doing on a daily basis, really what they're struggling with, and then helping them come up with a solution that fits their existing lifestyle. It's not a new solution necessarily. It, you know, it could be a new idea, but not like a completely new change to their schedule or. So I really prescribe to like the N of one idea. Everybody is unique. And so your lifestyle is going to be unique as well. And so if somebody's out there coaching, I would encourage them to lean into that as opposed to the sort of like templates and one size fits all. I mean, from a business standpoint and like a scaling standpoint, I understand the tendency to want to move in that direction to make your life easier, but I think you do a disservice to clients when you do that.
It's like going in to see a really good doctor. You know, it's the best doctor is the one that's going to be the one who's willing to take the time and listen and evaluate and assess before giving you that prescription, right? Same kind. Say, what is it? Prescription before prognosis eventually becomes malpractice or something like that.
Exactly.
Anyway, all right, Andrew, thanks for hanging out and sharing the real story. For everyone listening in the health coaching space, you don't need to sacrifice personalization to scale. The right systems free you up to actually coach and transform lives. If you're drowning in admin work and turning away clients, remember, working harder isn't the answer. Working smarter is. If this got you thinking about how automation could help your coaching business scale without burnout, reach out to us, trustaipartners.com. Thanks for listening to Trust AI Partners. I'm Jim Hoover. Keep building, keep innovating, and remember, the best coaches have the best systems. That's it for today. Andrew, thanks again. It's a great conversation. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, Jim.